Welcome back to our channel, Teaching and Learning. In this channel, we mainly talk about English language, business communication, IELTS practice, and business English also. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the series that I have already started. It's a business English, and the book is Flax Golden Tales. So I'm going to support my learners, my students and audience who really want to have some sort of exposure related to English language, and those who are also preparing their BBS, Bachelor in Business Studies also, they will be benefited. So they can take it as their note, as the reference, and materials, and whenever they are free, they can utilize their free time also watching by these videos. So I'm trying to put some input among the people who are in the field of learning. In last video, I did Unit 1. Under Unit 1, there is only one lesson, that was the poem Invitation, and we see that poem from four different level of interpretation. First one is, number one is literal comprehension, interpretation, critical thinking, and then assimilation. So now I'm going to start Unit 2 without any delay or background talk. So Unit 2 is Ancient Tales. By the way, before starting Unit 2, if you are new in this channel, why don't you put the why don't you subscribe this channel and press the bell icon so that you can receive the upcoming videos, and I need not to you need not to search again, so it will come to you automatically. So please subscribe my channel and press the bell icons so that you can receive the similar videos in future also, because I'm going to upload the videos 2 or 3 in a week, and I'm trying to support the learners to learn and to practice English in one side, on the other business skills, business English, and so many other things. Okay, let's start. So Unit 2, this is Ancient Tales. So Ancient Tales. Before we start, let's understand a little bit about the title, because title speaks at least 30% about the text. So if you understand title, you have understand the text 80%. That's the general assumption, so that it is a hate. So ancient means ancient means traditional, historical, very far history, and tales means stories. So automatically ancient tales are related or based on the religious stories, cultural or historical stories. So here we have 3 lessons on this, and all these 3 lessons will be completed in this video. So the video will be little bit longer, or the length of the video will be little bit high or bigger one, but you can understand all these ancient tales in this video. So the first one is Yudhisthira Wisdom. Many people say Yudhisthira, but I often say Yudhisthira. Whatever we say, it's the name, okay? Yudhisthira's wisdom, his knowledge or wisdom, okay? Second one is the Brave Little Parrot. And the third lesson is If Not Higher. All these 3 stories are the ancient stories, because they have their story, their events and characters from the history. Most of them are from the philosophy and religion. So Yudhisthira, the story of Yudhisthira, the Yudhisthira Wisdom, is taken from the Hindu the epic Mahabharata. Okay, and the second one, the Brave Little Parrot, is based on the Buddha's philosophy, how Buddha contributed to the society. Since it is the story, so there are some sort of fantasy also, some sort of imagination also, but the whole story is based on the Buddha's philosophy, Buddha's life and his sacrifice. that is the Brave Little Parrot. And the third one is If Not Higher. The story is based on the Christian belief, or it's the Christian mythology, or the story has taken the references and events from biblical point of view, biblical references based on that one. So don't make debate on it, okay? Just we need to understand, one is from Hinduism, based on Hinduism, second one is in Buddhism, and the third one is in Christianity. So they have the reference like that. So what we can understand from this is, this book is the combination of all these universal atmosphere, or references, or history, or religious background, cultural background, and so on. So this is lovely to understand. It helps us our understanding level also, because we are learning from different perspectives, learning from different areas of the world, learning from different philosophies. So that's very good. Learning from different religion also, that's nice. So ancient stories means very old stories, historical stories, and stories that are based on the history, religions, and the characters who were in the past, or something like that. So without any delay, since we have 3 stories over here, this video will be a little bit longer, but don't worry, it will be very useful for you, at least to improve your understanding regarding the all these global faith, global culture, and global understanding, how the people are understanding different cultures and religions and what is going on over there. And one beautiful aspect in all these 3 stories is, nowadays people are fighting in the name of culture, people are fighting in the name of religion, people are fighting in the name of justice, injustice, gender, caste systems, and so many other things. But these 3 stories are really helping us how to think beyond the box, how to think being more liberal, more widely, rather than confining yourself in a particular religious belief or particular cultural belief. How we can follow the path of the God, the Lord. That's the main issue we can understand from this story. Okay, don't make delay. Okay, let's start from Yudhisthira's wisdom. Here Yudhisthira is the character. Whenever we listen his name, we understand that he is a very good person, scholarly person, and who can think creatively, critically, and who can really sacrifice his he is not selfish, he is a good person. We can understand, we can figure it out that way. Here in this story, wisdom means, some people think that wisdom is knowledge, knowledge is wisdom. No, wisdom is superior knowledge. Knowledge is somewhere here, and wisdom is beyond that. So wisdom is the even more powerful, more useful, more valuable than the knowledge. So it's a type of specific knowledge. It's a more powerful knowledge, more useful, more creative knowledge. So Yudhisthira's wisdom, how Yudhisthira uses his wisdom over here. Let's see. So let's start it in 4-level interpretation. Okay, 4-level interpretation. What happens? Let's start from literal comprehension. In literal comprehension, what we do? We simply describe, we simply learn, we simply understand how the story, how the essay or poem starts, who are the characters, and there are some major events, incidents in between before it ends. So number A, starting. Number B, some major events, maybe 3 or 4, including the character, how plot goes up and down. After that, how it ends. That's all about literal comprehension. Very simple, basic level comprehension. Okay, I am going to read, and I'll explain a little bit also if you want. While hunting for deer in the forest, the 5 Pandavas brothers grow thirsty. They all wanted to drink water. Yudhisthira sends his one brother to bring water. He sends Sahadeva first. Sahadeva goes in the search of water in that sunny and very hot day. The situation was, it was the summer hot day or sunny hot day, so they were in the deer and in the jungle trying to hunt the deer, but could not do that one, and they were tired. It was the midday and they were thirsty also. So Yudhisthira, the eldest brother of 5 Pandava, sent Sahadeva to search and bring the water for all other brothers. He finds a beautiful pool. This means Sahadeva, then tries to drink the water from pool, but he listens the amazing sounds that threatens not to drink water because it belongs to someone else, so that he has to answer some questions before drinking or touching the water in the pool. So what does it mean? It means, once he goes for the search of the water, Sahadeva, then he found the beautiful pool, but somebody threatens him not to touch the water or not to drink from the pool because it belongs to somebody, and if he really wants to drink the water from it, he has to answer some questions. But he listens the amazing sounds that threatens not to drink the water because it belongs to someone else, so that he has to answer some questions before drinking or touching the water in the pool. Tired and thirsty Sahadeva just looks around but cannot see anyone there. Then drinks the water. He listens the threatening sound not to drink the water, but he sees here, looks here and there and there and there, but there is nobody. So he thinks that it may be his imagination or something else. So more than that, he was very thirsty and he drinks the water. Just after drinking the water, he became unconscious and lay down on the ground. Yudhisthira becomes sad since Sahadeva has not returned. After drinking that water, Sahadeva became unconscious and he lay down on the ground. Yudhisthira became very sad because Sahadeva, his brother, has not returned yet. He sends other brothers one by one, but everyone finds the same situation and victimized like Sahadeva. This is the scenario. So nobody came back to Yudhisthira. At last, Yudhisthira himself travels to search both his brother and water. He sees one beautiful pool and enjoys for some time, but he was amazed and tortured a lot. Near it, he finds his brother, laying down on the ground, either dead or unconscious. Unknown to Yudhisthira, they have all ignored his questions or his warning not to drink the water before answering his questions. Despite his overwhelming thirst, Yudhisthira obeys the X-way. Moreover, he correctly answered the X-way's philosophical queries or questions. Here, similarly to other brothers, X-way asks Yudhisthira some questions. Before you touch the water or you drink the water from the pool, you need to answer some of my questions. Then, even though Yudhisthira was tired and very thirsty, he maintained the patience and he answered the questions that were asked to him. So let me mention over here what are the questions that X-way asked to Yudhisthira and what were his answers. Okay, so we check those things. Here X-way is asking the questions. What makes the sun shine? Look at how you may take it a little bit silly questions, but it is very philosophical. Whenever we check some philosophical questions, many people think that this is a little bit silly idea, but it's not silly idea, my dear. Sometimes we ask the questions, what happens after death? Many people do not like to listen to this question. What happens after death? Because death is the reality. But whenever we ask questions in ordinary life, people do not like it because it is a philosophical question and it requires a lot of rigorous contemplation, rigorous thinking, and deep concentration and philosophical insight or something. So here Akshay asks to Yudhisthira, what makes the sun shine? How the sun is that much shining? Is it itself or someone make it, shining? And the power of God, after these questions, Yudhisthira says that sun has received the power of God because of which it shines. Another questions, what is man's secret weapons? What is man's surest weapon against danger? Whenever we face the danger, what is the surest, very powerful, weapons? Then Yudhisthira quickly replied, courage. Courage is the surest weapon in danger. What is the surest, strongest and effective weapons, It is the courage in problem. What gives more to man than even the earth does? Look at, very interesting question again. More than the earth, because earth has given us everything. We are here, we were born over here, and we grow up here. We do everything in life, and we go after our life in the earth. So what is more important? What has given us more than the earth? What feeds him and sustain him and make him strong? Like earth, because earth gives us food, it gives us shelter, it gives everything to us. So what is another thing that helps us that gives us like earth? The Akshay persisted, or he asked, and Yudhisthira did not hesitate. A mother, surely. Mother gives us more than the earth. Look at how intellectual the Yudhisthira is. His answers are very, smart. I hope Yudhisthira is, this Akshay is going to be convinced from these answers. And another question is, he says that a mother is more than the earth. Yudhisthira replies, when does a man become loved by his fellows? How his friends and relatives start to love a man? When? Akshay asked, and Yudhisthira responded, when he gives up pride. When we gives us pride, when we become humble ourselves at that time, our fellow, our friends, our relatives, and our other people really start to love us. And another is, what is that which makes a man happy when he has lost it? Whenever we lost something, we become sad. If you if you lose 1,000 rupees, obviously you will be sad. But here Akshay asks Yudhisthira, when there is what things after losing that a man becomes happy? Then Yudhisthira, because this is a little bit tricky and difficult to answer also, Yudhisthira says that anger. Once we lose the anger, then we start to become happy. And Akshay again asks one more question, that what can a man give up and immediately become rich? Every person in this world are struggling to be a rich man. But let's say, what can a man give up and then immediately he become rich? So Yudhisthira answers desire, because desire has been making us poor. Even though we have so many things, at least that are sufficient for our life and family, but we are not satisfied, so we are thinking that we are poor. So once we give up our desires, we lose our desire, then we become rich. And then after this conversation, question and answer, very big question and answer, Akshay become very happy. And then what happens, Akshay pleased with the answers of Yudhisthira, which was full of wisdom. Then he agrees to revive one of the brothers. Yudhisthira had to decide which of the four it will be revived. He was based on his choice entirely on moral consideration, not on his own selfish needs and predilections. The fully satisfied actually reveals himself as Emma and tells him how pleased he is with his uprightness, and that restores him his four brothers. Emma also promised him protection from future hardship and gave him some useful advice on where to go next and somewhere else. So this way the story ends. In literal comprehension, what we do, look at this is very interesting story, yes? How Yudhisthira used his knowledge, wisdom according to the context, situation, and how he became able to revive all his brothers. All his brothers were sent to the unconscious level, or they might be died, but it is Yudhisthira's wisdom who revived all his brothers, and Akshay became also very happy from this. So this is the literal comprehension of this story, ancient story, Yudhisthira's wisdom. Here you need to understand how the story starts. The story starts with one scenario. There are 5 Pandavas brothers, and they are going to jungle for the hunting of the deer. It was a very sunny day, hot day, and they were unable. Well, and this is all about the literal comprehension of the of this ancient story, Yudhisthira wisdom. Let's move to the interpretation. In interpretation, what we do is what the writer tries to show through this text. What is the intention of the writer and how we can interpret it. If we see this story over here, Yudhisthira's wisdom, here what I think I would like to interpret this story in this way. So wisdom is the story tries to reflect, tries to express, tries to the message of the story can be interpreted that wisdom is very powerful. One should have patience and should use his wisdom at the end of his life, whatever the situation, because life is the bundle of sorrow and happiness. It's the bundle of easy going and challenging situation. But as a good human, good citizen, good social person, what we need to do is we try to use our wisdom as much as possible, and we should not be selfish. Once we are not selfish and we use our wisdom for the support of others, if we are not wrong from inner side, then nobody, even the God, cannot defeat you. That's the message of this story. So Yudhisthira was a good person. He used his knowledge and wisdom for the good thing. And even in very problematic situation, the situation was like horror. Can you imagine your 4 brothers are dead and you are making a kind of nonsense question answers to somebody else? How can we assume that kind of situation? As a human, can we do that one? I have a doubt. I cannot do. What about you? Can you do that way? Whenever it happens to you in your life, it's very difficult. So this story tries to convince us, tries to send the message to all these human that we should have patience, we should do for good virtues, and we should be loyal, and we should not show our selfishness. We should use our knowledge, and we should not be that much, we should not make rush to fulfill our physical desires. You were surrounding here and there, you were wandering to find out the water in the jungle. Once you find the pool, what happens if you wait and listen some questions and answer this question? Because you have the source in front of you, you are going to utilize it. So what happens if you answer these questions? So that is the message in our real life also. Sometimes what we do is even though we have received the resources, we do not take care some sort of precautions, take care, we do not take care, we do not consider the secrets, then we might receive some accident. So this story tries to encourage all the readers to have patience, to use your knowledge and wisdom for the good things, and you should not show your selfishness. Nobody loves the selfish one. That's the interpretation of this story. Now let's move to the critical thinking or critical evaluation. How do we understand critical evaluation? In this story, even though the story is very good, it has the beautiful moral message, and from any angles it is not bad, but there are some questions. We are here, we are living now, and in this context we can really ask some of the very dangerous, very useful questions to the writer of this story, or to the story, or the characters who are in the story. First one, can God or can a Lord ask some questions whenever we find out something in the jungle? It's the first question. Second question is, the brothers of Pandava did not have any problems. They were not doing any mistakes. So why Akshay was trying to play with their need, necessity, their demands? Can God treat human that way? Because God, in our perception, is the provider, is the protector, is the our guide, our friends, our creator, whatever we say. How can those things possible? And more importantly, does anybody become unconscious or die after after drinking the water in the jungle? Or the person who is unconscious, can they be alive again? Can they be fit and fine right now, even after ending the conversation? So these are the questions, because since it looks more supernatural story. So regarding this critical thinking, you can raise many questions and you can raise many doubts, which looks more fancy. The events and stories and even the characters mentioned in this text. So that way you can have critical understanding. And the next one is assimilation. So assimilation means what we learn after reading this story, after making three-level interpretation: literal comprehension, literally understanding, basic level understanding, and then interpretation of what the story and the writer tries to say through this story, what is not actually given in the story but the message. And the third one is critical thinking: what are the possibilities and what are the impossibilities, what are the areas, character and incidents where we are not that much convinced about the idea of the writers, we are not sure about that and we have some doubts and confusion. So that is all about critical thinking. And in assimilation, after reading this story, I learn the power of wisdom. I will apply my knowledge even in very difficult situation of my life. So more importantly, I will not apply my knowledge, skills and other resources to fulfill only my desire. I will be more generous and I will think more human way. Humanity. Many people say that for the humanity, we should be generous, we should be kind, we should be, we should have our heart for others. Okay, and whenever we have problem at that time also, we should fight it by applying the knowledge, the attitudes and the resources we have, so that we can get victory. Look at here, a normal human being has got the victory over the questions of the Lord. Actually, that's a very tough struggle of the human to answer the questions of. Actually, they were very very tough and difficult questions. But by applying the Yudhisthira's knowledge and wisdom, he has become able to answer all these questions. So I personally in my life also, whenever I face the problems and difficult situation where I cannot control what I assume, but I will try my best to use my knowledge and wisdom through which I can overcome the problems. That's the 4-level interpretation of this text, Yudhisthira's wisdom. Did you like it? Okay, well. So now let's move to the another story, that is the Brave Little Parrot. Okay, the Brave Little Parrot, which is very interesting. And now, as I have already mentioned, that this is based on the Buddhism, or let's say Buddhist philosophy, through which the characters and incidents are created. Even though the parrot is there, which symbolically indicates to the Buddha's life and his teaching. Okay, whatever his teaching, let's say his teaching. And I'm going to read the literal comprehension. Many years ago, the Buddha was born as a little parrot. One day, the forest in which he lived was caught with fire, and the animals began to run away very desperately. In order to find safety by seeing the plight of the animals, the parrot decided to help them. He then darted to the river, dipped himself in the water, and flew back, covered the raging fires, and sprinkled some drops of water, but they vanished very easily. The parrot did the same thing time and again. By seeing such hopeless activities of the parrot, one of the gods were deeply moved. The god then disguised himself in the form of eagle and came near the parrot. The god advised him to save his life, as he could do nothing to put out the fire. The parrot replied by saying that he needed help, not the advice. Now the god in the form of eagle was ashamed and began to shed tears in such a way that the fire was extinguished very soon. Hence, all the animals in the forest were saved. So look at it, is a very short, interesting story. In a jungle, once there was the fire cut, and jungle was in the total fire. All the animals, birds, and other insects were crying and trying to save their lives. Some of them were almost, burning their bodies and body parts. And there was also one little parrot which started to think to save the life rather than, because he could fly and save his life, but he didn't do that one. And he had one, thinking that he could save the life of the animals and birds by bringing some waters from the rivers. He went into the waters and received some waters in his feathers, and he came again and he dropped through his feathers and some drops of water, but it could not vanish. It could not put off the fire over there, because fire was very big. In the heaven, one group of gods were watching all these things, and one of them came down by disguising his figure into golden eagle, and that said to the parrot, "Hey, don't do this silly activity. You can't turn off this fire. You cannot extinguish this fire. So it's hopeless activity. It's meaningless. You cannot achieve your goal." At that time, that brave little parrot did not listen to him and stop. He just said, "I don't need advice. I need help if you can. Otherwise, don't disturb me. I am doing this." And he flew again to the river and come back with some few drops of water and tries to put out the fire. By looking this, the attitude of the parrot, his thinking and everything, God was very sad. and he started to cry. Once he started to cry, the tears comes from his eyes. It's like the big tears, and it became the river and flew to the whole jungles, and the whole fire is extinguished over there. All the animals and birds were saved from the fire, and those who were who had some problem, who had burned their some organs, some things, and that also became very colorful, very they became it became a kind of curative action also. They become all well. So this is the story, and it starts from one fire caught in the jungle, and ends with the saving of life of the animals and birds and insects there. And in between there is a brave little parrot. Other animals and other birds were crying and trying to save their lives, and some of the gods were watching this, and one comes down, talk with the parrot, and that god is very inspired from the talk of the parrot, and he changed his attitudes and thinking. So that way the story ends. So let's go to the interpretation. In interpretation, what we can say, this story may be trying to tell us that one should selflessly help those who are in need of help. Our duty, our purpose of our life is to see who is in need. So by identifying that need, we need to support. We should not think whether that help is going to save him or her or not. Whatever we can, we need to do. That's the main message of this story. This story can be interpreted this way. The writer wants to say this. Selflessly help those who are in need of help. Selflessly helping others is reward in itself. If you help somebody who is in the need of help at that time, once you start to support or help some people, it is in itself the reward. Don't look for the reward. Supporting is in itself the reward. Besides that, the story is also trying to convey the message that to help others during the crisis is serving the God. This story is full of moral lessons. So what is the job of the God? God tries to save his creation. If we also help save the life of his creation, it means what we are doing? We are doing his job. We are supporting him. If we support him, automatically he will give us the rewards, because he is the powerful. He has created everything, earth and everything. So helping those people who are in need and problem is supporting the God. That's the main thing. That is the interpretation of this story. And critical thinking. What are the critical thinking? Critical thinking means even though the story is very convincing, we can learn a lot of things from this story, but the important thing is how a small little parrot can be brave that much. So the title says that brave little parrot. Yes, parrot can be brave, but how can to that extent it becomes brave? Can a little parrot, little bird dare? Can a little bird dare to extinguish the whole fire in the jungle? Does anybody think that way? If you are in jungle and there are other animals also, do you think that to bring some gallons and put up that fire? Obviously no, in normal condition. But a small bird, he could not bring any gallon or any bucket of the water over there, but he tried his best. So there are some doubts. We can raise some questions, okay? Some people, what they think, whenever I teach my students at that time, what they say, sir, I don't like the critical thinking over here, at least in this passage. I was very excited when I went through the literal comprehension and interpretation. When you start to say, this critical thinking at that time, this is not good for me, don't think that way. Yes, this story is very good, but there are, even the moon, there are some, some areas where some spots that, decreases the beauty, the degree of beauty of the moon. So here in this story also we can raise some questions. Can a little bird become brave that much? And those who were having the very delicious food and they were eating and looking at the birds, they are really gods or devas? Or are these things possible in our real life? Can a human or can any other creation, can other animals do such sort of works in real life? These are some questions that we can raise over here in the critical thinking. Let's move to the assimilation. Here in assimilation, after reading this story, I am reminded about many Buddhist legends, tales which are parables to show self lessons, to annihilate, to destroy. I desire become free from the cycle of rebirth like Buddha. Here if we give up our desire, if we think about others, then the whole world becomes beautiful. Even the God helps us if we want to help those people who are in problem. So from today, after reading this story, I have confirmed myself that I will support, I will help those people who are in problem, who are in danger, who are in crisis, or who need some sort of help. I will help them whatever I can. A human, that bird is the bird, as the little brave parrot. I will also support my community, the people who are in need and problem. This is all about brave little parrot, 4-level interpretation, literal comprehension, interpretation, critical thinking, and assimilation. That way you need to understand. Okay, so any questions anybody asks to you, if you understand these 4 levels, there is nothing beyond that. You can characterize, you can make characterization, you can tell the main theme of this story, main message, moral message, what it wants to show, what are the doubts and not convincing areas, how we can apply the message of this story. We can do all these things from this 4 level of understanding. Okay, there is one more lesson. We have finished the lesson based on Hinduism, that is Hindu culture, that is Yudhisthira's Wisdom, beautiful story, and based on the Buddha's philosophy, that is the Brave Little Parrot, another very beautiful story. And now let's read one more story over here, then we'll finish today's session. So this is If Not Higher. Okay, this is based on the Western philosophy, biblical reference, and Christian point of view. How this story tries to tries to help us to learn some moral virtues, the real life practices. If not higher. Okay, 4-level interpretation. Let's start from literal comprehension. What happens over here? Robbie used to disappear every Friday early in the morning when the penitential prayer starts and various religious works used to be performed. Litvak, a Lithuanian Jew, wanted to know where this Robbie would go at that time. Litvak wanted to know the Robbie's absence. Therefore, the same night, Litvak secretly went to his room and hid under his bed. Tomorrow early in the morning, when others were praying for the people of Israel, the Rabbi disguised himself as a peasant, as a farmer, and left the house. Rabbi was followed by Litvak on the way, but Rabbi did not know the thing. The Rabbi reached the forest near the town and cut a bundle of sticks. He went into a hut where a sick Jewish woman lived, he wanted to help her. He forced her to buy the wood on credit and started kindling the fire. But the lady said that she was a widow and it is very difficult to pay the money for the wood. Ravi left the woods and kindled the fire, then came out from there. After he put the wood into oven, he recited the first portion of the penitential prayers. As the wood started burning, he recites the second portion, and when the fire was set, he recites the third portion. The Litvak saw all his activities and became his disciple. So what happens? It's a very beautiful story. There is a priest in the church. You need to understand that way, and his name is Ravi, and he used to disappear in the morning prayer of every Friday. At that time, there is another follower of Ravi, whose name is Litvak. He wanted to know where his where his leader or priest would go in that prayer, because the priest should be there in the church whenever the prayer is going on. So one day in the evenings, his followers, his Litvak, secretly comes into his house and he hides himself under the bed so that he can follow tomorrow morning where he goes, Ravi goes. What happens? Tomorrow early in the morning, Ravi disguised himself as a farmer, his son. Then he went to the jungle nearby the town and he brings some firewoods to come back. On the way, he goes into the house of one Jewish old widow woman who is sick also, and he goes inside and forcefully sells his wood in credit, and he kindles the woods. At that time, he recites the different portion of the prayer, because prayer is going on in the church also. This is a very big sound over there. All the community people can listen that one, maybe the large area. So he recites all these three prayers over there when he is supporting that sick widow, old Jewish woman. So here, after looking all these things, the Litvak became the real follower of Ravi. Oh, this is the job of the priest. This is the job of the person who follows God, who claims that I am the follower of God. So it is the duty and responsibility for those people who follow the message, the teaching of God. Well, so we are doing this, if not higher. And in interpretation, how do we interpret this story is, let me read here from my reference book, and I will explain it also. The story can be interpreted as a good example of being religious. How we can be religious? What is righteousness? Righteousness, often people say that. There are various forms and name of religion, but the supreme one is to serve those people who are in difficult condition. There are different types of religion in the world, but the supreme task is to support, to help the people who are in problem and who are in pain, who are in suffering. Let's say difficult condition. Mainly poor, widows, old and sick deserve the help from others. God bless them rather than those who only pray but not work. Here is a very important point. Some people pray, some people worship the God. In the church, people pray. God helps those people who helps other more than those who only pray for the beautiful things. Because it is our responsibility also to help the people who are in difficult condition, who are in problem. God bless them rather than those who only pray but not work. In this story, the writer is trying to tell us that one should help the nearby people to get the heavenly pleasure. It's not, if you really want to receive the heavenly pleasure, you need to help, support, coordinate the person who is living surrounding you in a problem. You need to, if you help, you will get that pleasure, that satisfaction. It's heavenly, very high level satisfaction and pleasure. The greatest religion of the world is humanism. Visiting temple and praying God do not make people religious and spiritual. Look at very important point. Visiting temples, visiting churches and praying and worshipping is not sufficient. You need to help and support your neighbors. The God deeds give is that kind of satisfaction and pleasure which surely leads our life towards true spiritual achievements. One can get heavenly pleasure even in the world by doing good deeds. The Ravi of Nemirov showed the value of religion by setting himself as an example. The story also tries to show that heaven is at the service of humanity. People go to temple and worship the Lord but cannot be happy and satisfied, because the secret of happiness is to support the people. If you help and support the people, then only you become happy and you can bring smiles in your face. You can groom yourself if you start to help others. This is the main message of this story, of this writer. So you can interpret this story that way. It is not written in the story. The message of this story is that one. That is under interpretation. And critical thinking. Even the story is very convincing. There are many factors which I am not fully convinced. They are such as, is there not difference between ideological world and real world where we live? Is it possible for a mortal to go to heaven when he is alive? Do the modern people believe on existence of gods and heaven? Is it possible to find such an idealist person like the Ravi of Nemirov in real life? How can he follow the Ravi wherever without notice by him? How one important person of the program himself go to help the widow rather sending his man to support her? There are many questions we can raise. So supporting widow is also possible by sending somebody else, his followers. How the main priest can go leaving the whole rituals of the church at one hand and goes to support the widow in the morning? Is it possible in real life? So there are many questions we can raise in critical thinking, but don't think that by raising critical thinking we are going to decrease the value of this story. No, never. We just try to see the areas and sides where we are not that much convinced or satisfied, where we can express our doubts, where we can raise some questions. This is under critical thinking. Now let's go for the assimilation. What happens after reading this story? What happened to you? How you are thinking your life? What is your future plan? How you are planning to live your life in relation to other human, other relatives, other people who are living the very miserable life, pitiful life in your community? How you are going to help them, or you are damn care them and you just go for your to fulfill your selfish desire? Okay, let's see what I think over here. What I have realized from this story is human life is perfect when I help someone selfless way. I got the meaning of selfless human service and the value of the service of humanity as well as work. If we help those people, we will be satisfying the Lord in the heaven. Similar type of assimilation I have received over here also, in this story also, like as in the Brave Little Parrot. There also helping and supporting others is the source of happiness. Is the aspects from where we can attract God and we can support God's work in the earth. God's work is to protect, is to provide for his creations, the humans and animals, and we should also try our best to reflect the God's presence in our life also, so that we can support other people and get a kind of happiness and satisfaction in our life. we can bring smiles in our face if we start to help others. Otherwise, there are millionaires, there are billionaires, they cannot be happy. There are very powerful people, they have many workers, they have lots of property and so many things, but again they live in not satisfied and happy life. The secret of satisfaction and happy life is to help, support others without any condition, without any selfish desire. That's the main thing. In this way, we have completed this ancient tales, ancient stories, Yudhisthira Wisdom, the Brave Little Parrot, if not higher. I hope you have understood the basic ideas. You have understood the interpretation, literal comprehension, interpretation, critical thinking, and assimilation. Thank you very much. And if you want to watch similar type of videos, please subscribe our channel and press the bell icons. And if you like this video, why don't you give one like for me so that it becomes a kind of encouragement for me, and why don't you ask some questions? If you are not happy with my descriptions, why don't you give me feedback and suggestions so that I can improve a lot and support my viewers and audience. And never forget, this is only one area of our discussion. This is business English, and we will also continue our basic language learning, IELTS practice, and business communication. So we will also support from that area to other viewers who are looking at our channel, who are subscribing our channel for those purposes also. We will have those videos also. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay happy, and learn a little bit from these 3 stories and apply in your life. Whenever you practice education, whenever you try to learn something, some text, try to understand it from 4 level. Basic, and what it wants to say, what are the areas where you are not convinced, how do you apply to your life. Thank you very much. Thank you.